I'm Jacqueline Clements.
We might have just saved a life.
I love this country of Canada. This land has many amazing towns scattered throughout the countryside. I enjoy exploring these small towns and their quaint shops. But it's not just about shops and businesses, it's about the people behind them and their stories. Okotoks, Alberta is one of those towns, nestled in the foothills of the Rockies, just south of Calgary.
Welcome to In the Jump Seat with Jacqueline. In this episode, we are filming in a micro-modular data center. It's a tongue twister, and I'm so excited for you to meet the man behind the structure that we are standing in interviewing. His name is Steve Morgan. He is the founder and CEO of the company Cegen, located right in Okotoks, Alberta.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. I'm so excited for us to talk about your company and where it's come from and where it's going. This company is clean and green energy, but you also have another division which we're going to talk about, which is crypto mining, and we're going to talk about that later in the episode.
Okay.
So let's just start right from the beginning.
Okay.
What does your company do? And then I want to know how it all got started.
Okay. So Cegen has actually 3 different divisions in it. So it has an environmental side, which we do environmental noise control. You've seen some of that already today. And we've been doing projects in Australia, New Zealand, down in the United States, some smaller ones here in Canada as well. We have a micro-modular data center, which we're actually standing in right now.
Which is very cool.
And this one is actually shipping to British Columbia.
Yay.
And then finally, we have our crypto cache, which this has just been an explosive part of the company, to be honest with you, and it's going to take it over as far as volume and the type of business it is. But what it is really we're taking everything that we've already known with Cegen Environmental Group and the micromodular data centers and now applying it to crypto cache, crypto mining, which will give us a far more sophisticated solution to crypto mining. That's what we do.
Okay, so that is mind-boggling. So we're going to just break it down. I want to start at the beginning because your story of how you started Cegen is what dreams are really made of.
Yeah, it was, Cegen itself, it was really born, I'll be honest with you, and I use the word all the time, and sometimes it sounds corny, but it's born out of love. There was myself and my 2 best friends. I have been working in the energy industry for about 20 years at that point, building compressor stations and so on and so forth, and knew a lot of the problems of operating a compressor station. So one of the big problems was to try and find enough energy, actual electrical energy, and it always added more carbon footprint to the facility, it added more noise to the facility, so on and so forth. So I've been playing around with a few ideas around capturing heat that was being wasted off of the compressors. And then I started to look at what else had energy in it, which was the large amount of wind that was being exhausted out from the large coolers on a gas compressor. So think about if you take about a gas compressor and compare it to a car, that big cooler is really the radiator, but is now a 13-foot fan moving upwards of 300,000 cubic feet of air per minute. So we have a 30 to 35 mile per hour wind that never changes direction going straight up.
Crazy.
We developed a technology that night on some napkins over beers at a party, and we formed a company, drew out the beginning of the designs, and went from there. And that's how it all started.
And you shook hands.
We shook hands.
Just like the olden days, which is pretty cool.
We spent the first 2 years huddled in my partner's garage, working from there. We put a whiteboard up there, we pulled out cars, we put up tables, and we worked every Wednesday and every Saturday.
Wow.
And tried to figure it all out first. Hired engineering firms to help us to, figure out how to model this, so on and so forth. We did all those things. We won a whole bunch of awards over that period of time as well.
Cool.
I even won CEO of the Year for Clean Energy Tech globally for 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, I have that in my notes because I do want to talk about your awards because
Thank you.
those are very, very impressive for such a new company that's making huge strides in globally, really, not just Canada, but globally, which is so impressive. And it's all coming out of the little town called Okotoks.
I mean, everything was born there, and we've kept it very, very local. We could have moved really anywhere at that point, and we have kept it very local. We've already moved once, actually twice, into offices now in order to get more space, and we're now running out again. But we want to stay local. We want to stay true to where we're from. I've lived in Okotoks since 1997. There were 7,000 people when we moved there.
That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's more than tripled since then. I think we're like at 30,000 or something
like that now. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I think that's incredible. Just that you want to keep your roots local. You just want to dig deep. So Steve, we're just going to talk about Cegen's ESG goals. Yeah, okay, don't look scared. I've got them right here.
Oh, that's awesome. So I had no idea what we had.
That's great. Don't worry, I'll cue you. Okay, so what are they?
Cegen has 4 basic pillars that we do everything by. We're an environmental company, but what we always look at first is the economics of every single project, so that it always makes sense. It's always been the weakness for environmental companies is they don't take that into account. So we look at the economics first of a project. We look at the environmental impact and how we can lower that, whether it's noise, carbon, whatever those things are. Then we look at the operational enhancement of the project itself as well. So our client, we want to help them actually make more money. We want them to have a better ESG story themselves. And then finally, we want to really build a great community story for our clients. What most companies, I always found, made the mistake in is they describe themselves as the disruptors in the industry. I believe it's something different. We are the tool for the disruptors instead. So we have to find those companies that are disruptive, and we become their tool to help them move forward into their ESG stories.
That's a really great way to look at what you do and how you sell yourself. Is you're the tool for the disruptor.
Right.
And I also really appreciate that your key focus isn't just on the environmental, because a lot of businesses, they do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they do that and they kind of forget about the business side of it. And so I really like that you put a balanced perspective on what you can do for your client.
I think if business and the environment are truly going to work together, then we have to be able to look at all sides of it. If we're only weighting it just on the environmental piece and the expense becomes too high, it becomes a problem.
Right.
You know, those community stories.
Which is typical. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yes.
but that is typical.
It's very, very typical
Yeah.
of a lot of companies. So when we talk about, say we talk about our technology around green energy and capturing that wind, it's completely wasted. But what you have to look at is what is the operational impact on that compressor itself? Because you can't just pull energy from nothing. So it's going to cause back pressures and it's going to put some strain on the system. So the way you have to design it is so that you keep those to a very, very low minimum so that your economic impact is high. So the energy costs very, very little. You can cycle it directly right back into your operations, consuming it right on site. You don't have to try and sell it back to the grid or anything like that.
That's amazing.
And it makes it, and you lower your carbon footprint all at the same time because you're not using energy that has been generated from burning fossil fuels.
Okay, that is a ton of things that we want to unpack as much as we can in this episode, because maybe we'll just have to have you back. There's so much that you want to do for the environment, and it's not just for now. What I love about your company is you are thinking about not just the next generation, but 2 generations from now, leaving a legacy, leaving some heritage of how we can use our resources better. And I really, really like that and appreciate that, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. we have a great team, and we're continuing to grow that team. And I have been able to hand select some of the great people that I've worked with in my past lives and brought them on board.
Your past
How about my past career jobs?
That's awesome.
But those people are now they've come on board, and they were the ones that were on my side at those other companies, but we couldn't quite push our message into the company deep enough to make it change. And now they're with me now, and they just love it. I mean, it's every day there's whiteboards in every single office. Everybody's always coming up with new ideas. There's no bad ideas. There's no bad questions or anything like that. And it just makes such a difference. And there's just such a great culture within the company.
Before I move into your MMDC and crypto mining campus, I want to know, what does Cegen stand for?
So Cegen actually stands for Clean Energy Generation. That's what it was founded on.
Well, that's very innovative and pretty cool.
Yes. We love our logos with the four leaves and the plug.
Hat.
Oh yeah, we had to especially buy her a pink one
because I fit into this world so well.
But and then we use the same logo for our MMDCs, but we just have a USB plug as opposed to an electrical plug,
which is
it's
fantastic. It is. I love that logo, and we just talked about that logo a little while ago, and you came up with that idea. You wanted to keep it, but really give the message as to
yes. Myself and Jim, my partner, we worked hard on that particular logo. We were banging around all sorts of ideas, and then we finally, Jim, between the two of us, we came up with the idea. Then we hired a local marketing company as well to actually put it all together. So we try and keep everything very, very local.
I love all of that. I love all of that, because you really could have brought your company into the center of Calgary. You really could have brought your company here, or really globally anywhere. Right. But so thank you for keeping it in Okotoks.
Well, you know what? And we always wanted to do that, but COVID also really forced it. Right? We were just like, there was nobody that was downtown. When we truly launched Cegen as a company to, do business, there was nobody downtown anymore. Everybody was working from home. So that's how we started. Because
you started in 2020, just like a month before COVID shut everything down.
It was brutal.
Correct?
It was brutal. I gave notice at the company I was at. I was the executive vice president there. I left in February. We signed a lease for office space to beginning of March and ran right into COVID. And the energy industry completely tanked.
Right.
And so there was no business, and we starved probably for 8 or 9 months, and then finally things started to chug, is what I use as the word. Is that we got a few first small projects, and then we started to win some big ones, and the things that even the equipment that you've seen over the last couple of days shipping out. That quote was only number 14 that we had ever done. So it took almost 2 years for that thing to close.
Wow.
Right? So they're really long game projects.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, is it?
It is not. You got to be courageous, and you got to be a little nuts.
So you just mentioned about things that were shipping out, and we just saw some great stuff that was being put on the crane. It's being shipped out. Where is it going? Tell me about that.
It's going to the outback in Australia. It's an incredible project. So there is a project there that I've worked with this client in the past, again in my former life, but they came to us and asked us if we could bid on this next project, we bid on that, as I said, almost 2 years ago. And so we won the project. Wow. There's all sorts of requirements. It's very, very tough in Australia. And everywhere that you look at doing business with natural gas, or really any industrial applications, you have noise regulations that you have to deal with. Okay. In the outback, it's really tight. You're only allowed to add a small percentage to the overall ambient noise levels of the area. So when you're in the outback of Australia, ambient levels are going to be somewhere around 25. If you're only allowed to add 10, it means 2.5 decibels more.
That's
So
crazy.
it's a, you have very little room to mess up. And we worked with a company, they did the noise impact assessment on the site, and then we designed all our equipment for it. So down to like the thickness of the walls, how much mineral fiber has to go in them. Are we going to put an extra layer of 22 gauge in there in order to get higher attenuation? The ventilation systems, all those things we had to design from scratch for this particular project.
And you did it because
And we did it.
You won the bid,
Yes.
so you did it, and you did it well. And now it's being shipped out.
Yes.
You
yes.
are a global company in 2 years.
Yes. Yes. We have
phenomenal.
We have
phenomenal.
projects in New Zealand going out in the next couple of weeks. I think it's next week, actually. We just finished shipping to Pennsylvania for a big project there for natural gas as well.
Cool.
We're building 2, and we can talk about that later, but 2 crypto mines in the United States as well, massive ones. One is 100 megawatts in size, and the other one is 1 gigawatt, which is 1,000 megawatts.
Unbelievable what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I just love that this little company was born in a garage. That's not true. It was born on napkins, and now here you are global.
Yes.
And it took like just a few years.
Yeah, I mean, we were
Like
4
5.
years of R&D.
Right,
but,
of research and development.
And 2 years really launching the company.
Yeah.
And the first year was a disaster.
Well, you're definitely a success story.
Thank you.
And that's why we wanted to have you be part of this season, is because of COVID and how you've navigated through that, which has been incredible. I want to just ask a little bit now about your micro modular data center and crypto mining campus. So what are these?
So we've all got phones, and there's, we're continuously data. Somewhere that data is going.
Right.
There is massive data centers. There's one in Arizona that is, I believe, 7 million square feet. 7 million square feet. Just data, just computing going on all the time. As you're saving your pictures and all those things. Somewhere it's going. It's not, as soon as you push it to the cloud, it's going to a data center somewhere.
Right.
So, as with the energy industry being in the tank, in that first year, we start to look at what do we know and how can we apply it to different things.
Wow.
So data centers have a lot of the same problems that a compressor station has. You got to get rid of heat. You got to deal with noise.
Okay.
So we start to look at what we do and how can we apply it to this. We won the project that you're in today. We've won a couple of other bigger projects that we haven't actually executed on as well. And from there was this natural transition from data centers to crypto mining. It's basically the same concept, but the density of the processing is far higher in a crypto mine. So in a crypto mine, that's what they call them, because they're mining for the Bitcoins. Those particular facilities have always been, traditionally they've been pretty crude. They take a CCAN, they put a row in the center. All these, they call them ASICs, so whatever brand of processor they're using. They put fans on one side and they open up the wall on the other, and they suck air straight the way through the processors and exhaust out the heat.
Okay.
Extremely noisy, very, very poor airflow management, those types of things. But they worked. But we start to look at things and go, well, the whole industry is getting far more sophisticated. It is far more public. Every time you open up a newspaper, you're looking at your computer, they're talking about stories about Bitcoin now. Yes. So that whole thing has an image problem. And with our solutions, we fixed a lot of those things. So our facilities look far better. So they're not just a bunch of CCANs rusting in a field. They're far quieter. We're taking the same technologies that we use for building a natural gas compressor station, now apply it to the crypto mine. And we use our knowledge of airflow management and exhausting heat in order to get those out and give them a better solution. So it's better use of energy. All of the fans are all thermostatically controlled. So on a cooler day, the fans aren't spinning, moving as much air as on a hot day. You need more air to go through in order to expel out that heat.
Okay.
And so that's what we've come up with, and we create almost a data center quality crypto mine, which makes a huge difference. And when we start talking about this, one of my partners, he was just in Florida last week and talking about this at Bitcoin 2022, and the amount of attention we're getting. And we understand how air moves, how to avoid recirculation so that hot air going out doesn't get caught back into the intake and overheat the ASICs, so on and so forth. So those are all problems we've had to deal with for compressors for 20 years. So that's the way we do it.
So I want to talk about something that you do that is quite fascinating about the crypto mining campus projects that you've proposed, is how you bring various partners together, how you collaborate together in the industry. So what does that typically look like?
So if we're talking about a crypto mine, there's more parts to it than just the boxes that we're putting the ASICs in. We need power generation. So if we're going to take natural gas and we're going to turn it into electricity, we need gensets. So whether it's a 1 megawatt or a 5 megawatt or whatever we need, that will take that natural gas, burn it, and turn it into energy. That has a carbon footprint with it as well. So what we're proposing, and we've got 2 facilities right at the moment that we're working on to close the deals on. One is here in Alberta. The other one is also in Alberta, but it's on First Nations land.
No way.
So one of the big things that we're proposing, and I've seen this technology already, is to build greenhouses beside the compressors and beside the mining equipment and capture the heat from the mining equipment.
That's amazing.
And the carbon, and have the plants consume the carbon through photosynthesis and expel out oxygen.
Boy, that is a win right across the board,
Yes.
isn't it?
So think about way up north and how hard it is to get fresh vegetables, so on and so forth, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
You're doing all of this. You could grow fresh vegetables year round and supply them to First Nations, just northern towns, so on and so forth. And it'd all be accessible. We're starting to even talk to some of the universities and the colleges here as well to work with them to help us. We have one project that we proposed, and we were actually going to give the greenhouse to the food bank so that the food bank could have fresh vegetables for their clients all year round. So there's some great stories that can be applied to something that really doesn't have a great image at the moment. And it's not a hard fix.
Wow.
Right.
So I love that because, you know, food is a necessity. We need it. So to be able to do this with your greenhouses, and I just think this could be revolutionary. It really could be, couldn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think there is. Alberta is talking about trying to become the crypto mining center of North America and chasing Miami and what's going on in Texas. Those are the 2 big plays at the moment. But Alberta, and I've been talking to a lot of our government officials about this and how we have to differentiate ourselves from what is going on in those places. One of the big ways that we can differentiate ourselves from them is with that ESG story, by doing more than just grabbing cash.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of having to, if the crypto mining industry can really get a foothold here, we don't have to build pipelines to move our gas. We're bringing the clients right to the compressor stations. We'll actually increase the volumes of the pipelines and consume the energy directly, all at the same time.
So something that's really dear to my heart on a personal note is about leaving a legacy for a couple generations down the road. And your company, I think that's what really resonates with me. Even if I don't understand all the ins and outs of what you do, I just really love your philosophy of wanting to leave a better world for the next generations. Mm-hmm. And that just resonates with me. And that's exciting to me.
It's exciting for me too.
Yeah.
You know, I have a great team, and everybody is on the same wavelength when it comes to that type of thing. Everybody, we're looking to make an impact, make a difference. I mean, we're in business. Everybody wants to make money, but we want to make a difference too. And I think truly the successful companies out there today are those ones that are going to make a difference. And they'll be the ones with the long legs and have longevity into the future, and will
Very
pass
cool.
down to new generations and continue to grow those companies.
Cool. Cegen has won a number of awards, and they're really important awards. So tell us about those.
So we've won an award. Actually, we just won it again as one of the most innovative clean energy techs for Canada and globally. And we've won that
Congratulations,
year.
Canada, yay.
Yes, we've won that year over year for both globally as well as the Canadian side. And as I shared with you earlier, I won CEO of the Year for Clean Energy Tech. I think it's 2019 that I won that.
Very good.
And yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would be too.
Yeah.
Anytime we get to win an award about making a difference.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, Steve, our time has come to an end, which is very sad because there's so
Very
much
sad.
more.
I got to go back to the office.
I know, right? There's just so much more we could explore, and I know we could. For our viewers, tell them, give them one takeaway about your company. Like, what would you like them to know?
Well, I do think that words are used pretty freely as far as what companies want to do and things like that. But we truly, truly in our hearts believe, that innovation is the wave of the future. Everything that we see here today around us, at some point was somebody else's innovation.
Right.
But the problem with most companies is they become stale. We are continuing to bring new people and new ideas into the company, and I try my darndest. My wife tells me that this is my best place that I need to be, but I need to fly above the trees all the time. This is where my strength is. This is where I love to be, is above the trees.
Very cool.
And I've got great partners, and we all kind of fill in those gaps in order to make that thing truly a success and who we are today.
So you're a visionary, you fly above the trees. Do you ever sleep?
It's not really something I enjoy doing, to be honest with you. It's really not. I'll tell you a quick story, and I've always been the same. I remember getting up as a really, really little guy, maybe 2 or 3 years old, and coming downstairs, my dad sitting on his chair, and he'd be smoking a cigarette at that point in those days, smoking a cigarette, look at me and go, "What are you doing up?" And I go, "I can't sleep." And I would sit on his lap and watch Carson. And I've just been that same guy.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's lots of times I get an idea at 2 o'clock in the morning, I get up and I start to develop it, and then might climb back into bed at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. I've always been the same guy.
Well, Steve, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story and sharing Cegen and what you're doing for us globally and for next generations. I just want to say thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
That's it for this episode of In the Jump Seat with Jacqueline.